You know how it is, right? You're making all these healthier choices. Maybe you've even started adding millets into your diet, which is great.
Mm.
But that morning coffee or maybe that afternoon tea break, it just feels essential, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's often the last thing people think about changing, that daily ritual. They figure, it's just 1 cup.
Yeah, just a small thing. Well, today we're actually going to dig into that small thing.
We are.
We've been looking at some really quite striking insights from Dr. Khadar. He shares them over on the Millet Magic YouTube channel.
That's the one.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he makes a pretty strong case for why you might want to rethink even that single cup.
Exactly. So our source material is basically a transcript from that YouTube video. It features Dr. Sarula introducing Dr. Khadar's perspective on coffee and tea.
Yeah, and he doesn't really hold back. He lays out his reasoning, focusing on what he sees as the potential downsides for your health.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. Let's really unpack Dr. Khadar's core arguments. Why exactly does he advise against coffee and tea? And importantly for you listening, does he offer any kind of alternative, something you could maybe try instead?
Okay, yeah, let's get into it. So Dr. Khadar really zeroes in on 3 main things he sees as problematic in how most people drink coffee and tea.
Okay, what are they?
It's the sugar that often gets added, the milk, and then the caffeine itself.
Right. 3 common ingredients. Where should we start? Sugar.
Let's start with sugar. That's often a big one for people. And his take on it is uh, pretty blunt.
How
He
so?
basically states that your daily biological requirement for added sugar is 0, none.
Wow. 0. That really makes you stop and think, especially considering how much sugar is hidden in
He
things.
does. And he points out that, just through a couple of cups of coffee or tea a day, you can easily be taking in something like 10, maybe 15 grams of added sugar without even really noticing.
Okay, so you're getting this sugar. What does he say happens next in your body?
Well, he talks about how fast your body turns that sugar into glucose. And the interesting bit here is his focus on the immediate effect.
Yeah.
That glucose surge, he says, makes your blood slightly thicker, a bit more viscous,
Okay.
which makes it harder for oxygen and nutrients to flow as easily. And, of course, it spikes your blood glucose levels.
Right. And he connects that directly to some major health issues, doesn't he?
He does. He draws a straight line from that regular glucose spike to the big lifestyle diseases we're always hearing about, things like diabetes, hypertension, and obesity.
So the takeaway for you listening is if any of those are concerns, Dr. Kadar's view suggests looking really closely at sugar, even from sources like your daily brew.
Exactly. Okay, so that's sugar. What about the second one? Milk.
Yeah, milk is in so many people's coffee or tea. What's his issue there?
His main concern with milk seems to be around hormone imbalance.
Their hormone imbalance how?
He talks about the practice in some dairy farming of giving cows hormones to increase their milk production.
Okay, I think I've heard about that.
Right. And his argument is that those hormones don't just disappear, they can end up in the milk you drink.
Ah, so they could potentially get into your system.
That's his point, that they could enter your body and potentially mess with your own natural hormone balance.
And he takes it a step further, too, right? He links that potential disruption to something else.
Yes, he also suggests a possible connection between this kind of hormone disruption from milk and the rise in autoimmune diseases.
That's a pretty significant link he's proposing there. Definitely food for thought if you're a regular milk drinker.
It is. It's a central part of his argument against consuming milk, at least in the context of these beverages. Okay, so that brings us to number 3.
Caffeine. The main event for many people. The very reason you might be reaching for that cup in the first place.
The very reason.
Yeah.
So what's his perspective on caffeine's effects on you? Well, first, he classifies it as an alkaloid.
An alkaloid. What does that mean in simple terms?
Alkaloids are basically naturally occurring chemical compounds. Plants make them.
Yeah.
And they can have pretty strong physiological effects on us.
Okay.
So Dr. Khadar actually groups caffeine with some other well-known alkaloids like morphine, codeine, theobromine, which is in chocolate, and even nicotine.
Whoa. Okay. Morphine. Nicotine. He's putting caffeine in some serious company there.
He is. And he does that, I think, to underline that from his perspective, it's not just some harmless little stimulant. It's a substance with real potential impact on your system.
So that challenges the common idea of it just being a simple pick-me-up, doesn't it? This might make you rethink your relationship with caffeine.
Definitely not just a simple pick-me-up in his view. He does explain that initial effect, though.
The alertness.
Yeah, that feeling of increased efficiency. He attributes it to a surge of glucose, like we talked about with sugar, and also what he calls happy-giving chemicals being released in your brain.
Ah, okay. So that explains why it feels good initially, why you get that boost and maybe reach for it again.
Exactly. That's the short-term appeal. But then he shifts to the long-term consequences for you. And this is where his argument gets um, quite concerning.
Okay, I'm listening. What are the potential long-term downsides, according to him?
He argues that consistent long-term caffeine intake can actually lead to your nerves becoming, in his words, debilitated.
Debilitated. What does that mean practically?
Well, he suggests this could potentially contribute to feelings of depression over time.
Depression. From coffee or tea.
That's the link he makes.
Yeah.
He also suggests it can cause your nervous system to function in a less coordinated way,
Less coordinated, leading to what?
potentially leading to bouts of anxiety.
Wow. Okay, depression, anxiety. Those are really serious potential outcomes that you're right, you probably don't associate with your daily cup. Really makes you pause.
It really does. And there's one more he mentions, potential kidney issues.
Kidneys. How?
He says it might show up for you as needing to urinate frequently, especially during the night.
Frequent nighttime urination.
Yeah. And he notes that in his experience, they've seen this pattern in people who drink a lot of coffee and tea, but those people often don't connect the dots. They don't link it back to their beverage habits.
So that raises a really interesting question for you listening, doesn't it? How often do you actually consider the less obvious ways your daily habits might be affecting you long term? Have you ever had symptoms like that and just not known why?
It's definitely something to reflect on. Now, besides these direct health impacts on you, Dr. Khadar also briefly touches on a wider issue, right? Some environmental.
Yes, that's right. It was a quick point, but important.
He mentions our sort of shared responsibility for deforestation, specifically in places like the Western Ghats or the Himalayan Ranges,
Because land is cleared
for coffee and tea plantations. It's just a reminder, really, about the bigger footprint these incredibly popular drinks have on the planet.
Yeah.
Something for you to be aware of.
Good point. Okay, so he's laid out quite a case against issues with sugar, potential problems with milk hormones, and the long-term effects of caffeine as an alkaloid. That might leave you wondering, okay, so what can I drink? Does he offer an alternative?
He does, thankfully. He doesn't just leave you hanging. He introduces something called Niger seed Baya. Sometimes it's called Baya. Niger seed Baya. Okay, never heard of it. What is it?
He presents it as a beneficial alternative, something that he says actually has a feel somewhat similar to coffee.
Yeah.
And he gives a pretty detailed recipe for you to try at home.
All right, let's break down that recipe then. If you're curious and want to give this a go, what do you need?
Okay, so according to the video transcript, for about 4 to 6 cups, you'll need roughly 2 tablespoons of Niger seeds.
2 tablespoons for that many cups. Okay.
Seems quite potent. You'll also need palm jaggery syrup for sweetener, and then coconut milk is listed as optional if you want it creamier.
Got it. Niger seeds, palm jaggery, optional coconut milk. How do you prepare it?
First step is roasting. You take the Niger seeds and roast them in an iron kadai. He specifies iron for about 2 minutes, just until they start to pop.
Okay, dry roasting.
Seems like it, yes. Then you let them cool down completely. Once cool, you need to grind them coarsely. He suggests using a mortar and pestle for this.
A mortar and pestle. Okay, like old school grinding. Coarsely, not fine powder. Exactly, coarsely ground. That sounds like a pretty straightforward start for you.
It does. What's next after grinding?
Next, you boil 4 cups of water. Once it's boiling, you add your coarsely ground Niger seeds.
Okay.
Then you let that simmer just gently bubble away for about 3 to 4 minutes.
Simmering the grounds in the water. Then what?
After simmering, you need to filter that liquid, which is now your decoction. He says to use a steel sieve, probably because the liquid will be hot for you and steel can handle it.
Right. Filter out the grounds. And then you have the basic drink.
Pretty much. After filtering, you just add the palm jaggery syrup to taste, so you can make it as sweet or not sweet as you like.
Okay, so that's the basic Niger seed paya for you. But you mentioned the optional coconut milk for a creamier texture, maybe more like a latte feel.
Right. If you want to add that for yourself, he gives specific instructions. Don't just pour cold coconut milk in.
Okay. What should you do?
He recommends warming the coconut milk gently, using a double boiling method. So you boil some water, turn off the heat, and then place your cup or bowl of coconut milk in that hot water, covered, for just a couple of minutes until it's warm.
Gently warming it. Got it.
Then you mix the Niger seed decoction that you made and the warm coconut milk. He suggests a ratio of about 2 parts decoction to 1 part coconut milk.
2-to-1 decoction to warm coconut milk.
Okay.
So, yeah, it sounds like a little bit of a process for you, maybe more involved than just brewing coffee, but maybe worth trying if you're looking for that warm, comforting beverage alternative.
Could be. But, and this is really important, he adds a crucial caveat about even this seemingly healthy alternative.
Oh, what's that? Something for you to keep in mind even with the Niger seeds.
Yes. He really emphasizes that even though this Niger seed paya is beneficial, you shouldn't drink it every single day.
Ah, interesting. Not every day. Why not?
He encourages rotating it. He says, switch it up with other alternatives. He actually mentions that they plan to discuss other alternatives in future content.
Okay, so rotation is key.
Rotation seems key to his philosophy.
Mhm.
What's really fascinating here, for you listening, is his broader point. Get health benefits from lots of different natural sources.
Mhm.
Don't get hooked on or addicted to even the healthy things. Avoid that reliance.
That's a fantastic point. Variety is crucial, not just swapping one habit for another identical one, even if it's healthier.
Mm.
So let's just quickly recap Dr. Kadar's main points for you.
Okay.
He advises against coffee and tea, primarily due to concerns about 1, the added sugar, 2, the potential hormones in milk, and 3, the long-term impact of caffeine, which he classifies as an alkaloid.
That's it. He links the sugar to glucose spikes and potential lifestyle diseases for you. He connects the milk hormones to possible endocrine disruption and maybe autoimmune issues.
Right.
And he suggests caffeine, over time, could negatively affect your nervous system, leading to things like depression or anxiety, and potentially impact your kidneys too.
And as an alternative for you to explore, he offers that Niger seed paya recipe.
Yep, with the instructions we went through.
But crucially, with the advice not to drink even that every single day, but to seek out variety in your natural beverages.
Exactly. The big takeaway for you isn't just swap coffee for Niger seeds. It's more about broadening your horizons, exploring a range of natural options, avoiding that dependency, and maybe reaping diverse health benefits for yourself along the way.
This whole deep dive into Dr. Kadar's perspective, it really does make you think differently about that cup you might be holding right now, or the one you have every morning, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It definitely encourages you to maybe examine your own relationship with coffee and tea. Perhaps just trying an alternative, like this Niger seed paya, even just a couple of days a week. It could give you some interesting feedback from your own body. See how you feel.
Yeah, be curious about it.
It's certainly something for you to consider, isn't it? What might happen if you experimented just a little with changing up that daily beverage routine? And we'll definitely keep an ear out for those other alternatives he mentioned, possibly discussing in the future for you.